This amazing event raises great questions that are almost mystical in nature. What is chance? What is luck? What is fate? What makes you so sure you're going to make it home tonight? I was 46 years old the day I walked into that cockpit. I had the world ahead of me. I was a captain on a major U.S. airline. I had a beautiful, healthy family, loving wife, great future. And at 4 o'clock, I'm trying to stay alive. It's almost for me a religious experience to take an airliner into the air. I say sometimes to my younger co-pilots, I said, do you realize that we're going through the air at 8 miles a minute? Do you realize we're covering 4,000 miles in one day? My mother used to say that instead of saying mommy and daddy, I said plane. I built models when I was growing up, bombers and transports with glue and plastic. And then I'd go to airports. I'd watched airplanes fly, and I'd watch pilots circle the airplanes. I really wanted to fly airplanes. I had a burning desire. I mean, I got sick in the mornings. I got dry heaves. I wanted it so badly. October of 1966, my dream was realized. I got my wings and became an Air Force pilot. I started as a TCA. We're great for acronyms in this business, but TCA means Training Check Airman in 1989, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Pilots have a check ride every year. We go out to our training facilities for our respective airlines. In our case, United's at Denver, Colorado.
Every year?
Every year. It's an annual requirement. An emergency evacuation training and ditching training and all kind of training that has to do with the safety of the aircraft in terms of an accident, what you do, how you get passengers out. But you also have to do a host of check maneuvers. We get into a simulator.
So you're throwing pilots into situations where bad things happen.
Absolutely. All right. Flaps won't come down, gear gets stuck, you'll have engine failures, you'll have hydraulic failures, you'll have electrical failures, explosions, fire. Things are going to happen, you don't know what they're going to be, and you just have to deal with them. It's a sweat box type situation. Ode to sweat. You're bolted to the ground. But this is very real. You're working very, very hard, and you're exhausted when you get out. This is how we train these pilots so that they've been exposed to it all. Way outside of what you're ever going to experience in a career, but you're ready for it if it ever happens. July 19th, 1989, I was working with a crew of pilots that I was checking out. We had worked 5 days together. We were going to go home for 3 days off. I did the paperwork and went over to Stapleton Airport, Denver Stapleton. I went to look for the first flight back to my home in Chicago. And as I walked down that B concourse, the first one I came across was a B-7, Boeing 727 aircraft. And its time of departure was 5 minutes prior to an airplane at the next gate, B9. Flight 232, also going to Chicago, and it was a DC-10. The 727 left 5 minutes earlier. And for some reason, depends on whether you believe in fate, luck, or God, I guess, I did the further walk and I went to the DC-10 and got on that airplane. I was seated in 5F, which turns out to be the last seat in first class. On the right side, I had a window seat. Flight was uneventful. I think we were just about completely full. We took off, and we climbed altitude, and they served lunch. The tray was removed, and I asked for a cup of coffee. And shortly after, there was a loud, muffled explosion. It was, in fact, in the back of the aircraft. Very loud and very pronounced. The aircraft yawed, which is a severe yank to the right. The whole fuselage of the aircraft went very sharply to the right. That coffee cup is now empty. Its contents are in the saucer and it's all over the table linen. And my rear end, which is sitting in the middle of a leather seat, is now up against the armrest to the left. It was abrupt and violent. 10 seconds, I would say, of airframe shuddering. And then after the 10 seconds elapsed, there was, it just stopped. It was smooth. But the right wing would bank to the right, steeper and steeper and steeper. 10, 15, 20 degrees of bank. There's a golden rule in our business, and it's probably not written anywhere. We will never intentionally take you in excess of 30 degrees of wing bank. It's considered bad public relations. It scares people. This airplane got up over 40 degrees of bank. The passenger address announcement came from the cockpit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have shut down the number 2 engine, and we will be a few minutes late arriving at O'Hare. And he hung up. The DC-10 has 3 engines. The one under the left wing is numbered number 1. The one in the tail is number 2. The one under the right wing is number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we have shut down the number 2 engine, and we will be a few minutes late arriving at O'Hare. They have shut down the engine in the tail of the aircraft. Because it doesn't sit out away from the body of the aircraft, it doesn't cause the airplane to yaw left or right. It doesn't cause the airplane to bank. Everything I saw aerodynamically said to me that it was the right engine was our culprit. Yet he said it was the number 2 engine they shut down. We were at 37,000 feet above sea level. The airplane will fly all day long on the remaining 2 engines. However, it can't do it at that altitude. It's lost 1/3 of its power capability. The nature of our atmosphere is as you get lower in it, the air becomes more dense and more oxygenated. So by dropping down at 20,000 feet or so, there's enough oxygen to fly all day long till you run out of gas. The problem that I saw was that when I looked out the window, the body of the aircraft is like so, and by looking at it reference to the horizon, I could tell that we were climbing and not descending. We're going the wrong way.
Do people around you know you're a pilot?
No, I'm in civilian clothes.
What's happening in the first class cabin?
Well, there was a bit of consternation in the beginning and some gasps when the explosion happened. And then they heard the announcement, which had a calming effect, like, oh, okay. But I was discomforted by the fact that the information given and what I was seeing didn't match up.
What's wrong with this picture?
What's wrong with this picture? Then I started to notice power changes, substantial power changes. The right wing would go down, and then you hear power coming up. The wing would come back up somewhat. We begin to turn in the direction the down wing goes. So if the right wing goes down, we turn right. Now the sun is coming through the windows on the other side of the aircraft. I'm the oldest of 8 kids, and one of the things that I developed out of that upbringing was a thing I call people radar. And at 100 yards, if I see your white-haired grandmother getting off an airplane clutching her ticket and she's in distress, I swear to God I'll see her. Or I'll see your 2-year-old get away from you and maybe head toward the escalator in harm's way. I mean, I just see those things. But it's useless unless you somehow act to help. I saw the flight attendant that was working my side of first class. Her name is Jan Murray. She's obviously concerned and distressed. I reached out and I just touched her in the arm as she went by, and I said, Jan, don't worry about this. This thing flies fine on 2 engines. We just simply need to get to a lower altitude. We're going to be fine. She just gave me a kind of a focused look and said, oh no, Denny. Both the pilots are trying to fly the airplane, and the captain has told us that we have lost all our hydraulics. DC-10s must have hydraulics to fly them, period.